Do your students struggle with legible letter writing? Do you wish you had more instruction time? Here are the top 10 tips to make your letter formation instruction more effective with less time. Starting with number 10, teach letter writing in the morning. Students are out of gas at the end of the day, making coordination of minds, eyes, and hands difficult. For best results, teach this skill early in the day. During this instruction time, stick to letter writing. It may be tempting to save time by combining writing with reading or written language, but handwriting requires focus, self-regulation, visual attention, sequencing, cognition, academic knowledge, and motor skills. Adding another academic element makes learning to write more difficult and less effective. Present, teach, and practice the same way every day. Novelty is great for many kinds of learning, but handwriting isn't one of them. Putting the writing format on autopilot allows students easier transitions and more success because they're not learning a new process every time. Familiar is good. Practice writing using a pencil and paper. Why? Because this is how students are expected to write when they're producing classwork. Pencils feel different, perform differently, and are less interesting than markers or pens. Practice with the tool students will be expected to use in class. Avoid the writing utensil struggle and set students up for success by teaching them to write on paper with a pencil. Maximize muscle memory. The goal is to put letter writing on autopilot by practicing writing the letter the same way every time. Every letter written is a data point for strengthening muscle memory. Letter writing on autopilot frees up cognitive resources so your students can focus on content while they're writing later on. Teach letters in like formation groups. Teaching letters in like formation groups instead of ABC order is a great muscle memory strategy. For example, letter C turns into A turns into G, Q, D, so you're getting more repetitions with less work. Master one letter group before moving on to the next group. This is important for a couple reasons. If you move to a new letter group before achieving at least some automaticity, the student is relying on cognition alone to remember how to write the letters. For many students, this is really hard and can lead to a negative feedback loop of not wanting to write because it's hard, leading to decreased participation, leading to decreased ability, and back to not wanting to do it. Spending a little extra time mastering one group at a time can increase self-confidence, participation, and ability in a positive feedback loop. Muscle memory can be your enemy. It doesn't care if you're making letters the easy way or if you're drawing them in 15 line strokes. Every time a letter is written, it's a data point for muscle memory. Practice makes permanent. Tip number 2. Make sure your students can write the letters before they're expected to write words and sentences. The whole language approach to teaching writing, just get something down on paper, try your best, is great for some areas of learning, but is counterproductive when learning to write letters. Every time a letter is written, that is another data point for muscle memory. If your students are doing more of this kind of writing practice than formation-focused practice, that's what's going into muscle memory. And tip number 1. The single most important factor in teaching letter writing is feedback. The more meaningful and immediate, the better. Learning to write letters in an efficient, functional way requires an adult to demonstrate, model, and cue. Sometimes it requires hand over hand to help students feel how to make the letter. Apps, worksheets, and independent work are good for practicing previously learned skills and refining pencil control, but they're not good for teaching formation because there's no meaningful feedback. Students come into kinder and first grade with a broad range of skills and readiness, so feedback has to look different for every student. The best thing we can do for students is provide concrete, consistent instruction with explicit practice and immediate feedback. Make the most of your letter writing instruction time by using these tips. Teach it in the morning. Teach writing separately. Teach it the same way every day. Practice with a pencil. Muscle memory is your friend. Teach in like formation groups. Near mastery before moving on. Muscle memory can be your enemy. Letter proficiency before words and sentences. Lastly, timely, meaningful feedback. For more tips on how to make your handwriting instruction even more amazing, please like and subscribe.